Hello. Happy 2025, historians. How was your Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate? I spent my holiday building my first Lego set, and it doesn't sound like it's a big thing. To me, it was a big thing because this is me and I bite off more than I could chew. My very first Lego set was the 9,090 piece Titanic set. Lego was going to retire the Titanic, and I was not okay with that. So I spent my adult money and bought it. All in all, everything combined on the days that I worked on it, it took me 6 days to complete it. I'm very, very proud of it. It's behind my camera, and I didn't take into the factor of how freaking big it is, and I don't know where I'm gonna put it. Here's a photo of me with it. I was very, very proud of myself. Anyway, I am back. I am ready for this year. As I hope all of you know, February is Black History Month, when we celebrate all things Black. So to start 2025 and Black History Month off, we're going to talk about an African American woman who broke the glass ceiling in nursing by becoming the first. Mary Eliza Mahoney. Let's get started. You're gonna be back. Do you like the new intro? Do you like the new look? Do you like the new logo? Isn't it adorable? It's so cute. I love it. Anyway, before I get going, three things. Technology is just not working for me lately, so if my camera keeps going in and out of focus, I deeply apologize. 2, stick around to the end of the video. I have a new upload schedule coming up this year. And 3, Super Bowl Sunday. Sorry if you're an Eagles fan, but we're going 3 for 3. It's just gonna happen. And if I'm wrong, you can come back and you can roast me in the comments. I will accept that kind of a roast. Mary Eliza Mahoney was born on May 7th, 1845 in Dorchester, Massachusetts to parents Charlie and Mary Mahoney. Since Mary was born in mid-1800s America, slavery is in full swing. Her parents were enslaved in North Carolina, but were freed before Mary was born and moved north to have less discrimination. And they luckily did this before the American Civil War began. From the time she was small, Mary was a devout Baptist, attending church constantly at the People's Baptist Church in Roxbury, a neighborhood of Boston. She began attending classes at the Phillips School, a once white-only school until Massachusetts passed their school desegregation law in 1855, making it one of the first integrated schools in Boston. This school taught the normal things like math, English, and history. However, it also taught its students the values of humanity and morality. From childhood and into her teens, Mary knew she wanted to become a nurse. However, when she was 16, the American Civil War began on April 12, 1861, between the Union, aka the North, and the Confederacy, aka the South. The American Civil War was a battle that spanned over 4 years, and it was over many things, but the main reason, and I'm gonna be crystal clear on this, so turn up your volume and do not fight me on this. The American Civil War was about slavery. Yes, it was over states' rights, but those states' rights they fought for was about slavery. You good? You get it? You understand it? You heard it? Cool. Moving on. Now, due to the onset of the Civil War and, a lot of death going on, there was an insane and immediate desperation for nurses. Before I continue, I need to give you an idea of what Mary faced in her efforts of becoming a nurse. First and foremost, there have been Black nurses since the beginning of human time, all over the world and in many cultures. So what Mary is doing by becoming a nurse is nothing overly new, but how she did it in the environment she was born in is significant. The first known Black doctor in any capacity was James Durham or Durham. I've seen it spelled both ways. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm going with that. He was born a slave in Philadelphia and was bought by a doctor who, completely out of left field, encouraged him to study medicine. And I say that because, remember, this was a time in America where it was illegal in many states for Black people to learn how to read or write. Long story short, James became the first Black man to practice medicine in the US. Now, interestingly, he vanished and is thought to have died in 1802. Personally, I don't entirely believe that, mainly due to the fact that, and I'm making this clear, I don't think this was a completely racist thing they did. Louisiana, where James practiced, passed a law in that same year of 1802 banning anyone to practice medicine without a formal medical degree. To be very clear, that's good. That is good. Please, I want somebody working on my body in any kind of way, automally, to know what the heck that they are doing because they were trained correctly. I say this law wasn't completely racist because, once again, like I said, I would like somebody with a degree to fix me. However, on the other hand, this was also a time when Black people were barely allowed in schools, much less medical school. It's a gray area on that one for me. However, when the Civil War broke out, there was a huge need for nurses, so many Black women born into slavery became nurses. Women like Sojourner Truth, Susie Baker King Taylor, and, believe it or not, Harriet Tubman. All these Black women worked to save injured soldiers during the war in hospitals and on the battlefield. These women are nurses. There's no doubt about that. However, they are not professionally trained. To accomplish her goal, Mary got a job at the New England Hospital for Women and Children, present-day Dermick Community Health Center, in 1863. This hospital opened in 1862, and their goal was, quote, 1, to provide for women medical aid of competent physicians of their own sex. 2, to assist educated women in the practical study of medicine. And 3, to train nurses for the care of the sick. This hospital was an outlier of its time because A, it catered mainly to women, and B, it gave care to these women no matter their economic status or mainly their race. It was also one of the best places for a woman to go to because, unlike all the other hospitals, its staff and doctors were all women. Every single staff member and doctor was a woman, and they were able to keep this for a while. However, long story short, they flip-flopped on that a couple of times. Then a law was passed making them have to hire men. It was a whole spiel. Mary worked there for the next 15 years in many roles, such as a cook, janitor, and washerwoman. She did those jobs, but also had the opportunity a few times to work as a nurse's aide, which of course helped her learn more about the profession. By 1972, the hospital had opened a nursing school, which was the first of its kind in America, having their first graduating class in 1873, which made Linda Richards the first American professionally trained nurse. Pulling out all the stops for you. She is a video in and of itself. She does a lot. One thing to know about Mary is that she was a 5'0", less than 100 pounds, slim-built woman that was known for her work ethic and crazy determination. These characteristics must have impressed the hospital staff because they decided that Mary deserved to be admitted into the hospital's 16-month certificate program. So with that just falling into her lap, in 1878, at the age of 33, along with 41 other students, Mary was accepted into the New England Hospital for Women and Children nursing school. Her sister Ellen also attended the program with her, but unfortunately, Ellen didn't receive her degree. Now, let me tell you about this program because we already know medical school is crazy intense. This is crazy intense in a span for 16 months. That sentence didn't make any kind of a sense, but that also didn't make any sense. But the point is, this is a lot for a 16-month program. Okay, the training required that each student spend at least 1 year in the hospital's many wards in order to gain knowledge across all aspects of nursing. Mary's shifts began at 5:30 in the morning and went till 9:30 at night. To me, that is a lot. To any nurses who watch this, that's just your average Tuesday. On top of the various ward field trips she took, Mary had to attend lectures, which consisted of general nursing knowledge, disinfectants, family nursing, surgical nursing, childbed nursing, foods for the sick, and all the physiological stuff. She was also required to attend lessons that taught her bedside procedures like bandaging and taking vitals, and she had to work several months as a private duty nurse, basically giving in-home private care to people. Now that's a lot of internship type work for no pay, right? Nope, this took me by surprise. After the students' first 2 weeks of work, the program allowed the students to earn a weekly wage between $1 to $4, which is $31 to $126 in today's money. 3/4 of the program had Mary working in maternity, surgical, or medical wards, and she was given 6 patients to be responsible for. Finally, in the last 2 months of the 16-month program, Mary was required to take her newfound knowledge and skills and apply them to an environment she wasn't accustomed to, such like private family homes or other hospitals. Finally, after somehow meeting all those requirements, I cannot imagine the amount of sleepless nights she had, out of the 42 total students that entered the program, 4 completed it. 3 white women and 1 black woman in 1879. Mary Eliza Mahoney was that 1 black woman, making her the first African-American woman to earn a professional nursing license in the United States. This ain't Texas. Woo. I love that Queen Bee won the Grammy. Now for us today, becoming a registered nurse is an accomplishment, but it's nothing new. So let me try to explain why this was so important. The reason why becoming a registered nurse in the 1800s was so big was largely due to the enormous influence by basically the mother of nursing, Florence Nightingale. I'll make a video about her at some point in time, but basically, because of her work, people saw the importance of hygiene, patient care, and she shed light on the importance of medical support, especially during wartime. Remember, her first emergence into the nursing field in wartime was during the Crimean War. All this led to a massive reduction of the average mortality rate among wounded soldiers, and she helped establish the basic foundations of what was required to become a nurse. It also wasn't until the Civil War and Clara Barton's work on the battlefield during the war, which ultimately she established the American Red Cross, that nursing really began to evolve into a profession. Plus, like I keep saying, I think it's just nice to have a person who's working on, maybe a bullet wound that knows what the heck they're doing, not just somebody with a knack for knives and kind of knows the human body. After Mary broke the glass ceiling, her diploma gave her a higher salary and, most importantly, respect as a private nurse. Because of that respect, she decided to stay in private nursing. She did this because public nursing, the racism was crazy. Now, you might think that private nursing would be more discriminatory. However, there wasn't a ton. It was mostly because African-American nurses were treated as household servants rather than professionals. So think like household servants like The Help, or this is a good example, Gone with the Wind. Like that kind of a house servant respect. That was because most of her patients were from wealthy white families that lived up and down the East Coast. She mainly worked with new mothers and newborns, and she made sure to establish herself as a professional who was different from the household staff. For example, she made a point that she preferred to eat alone in the kitchen, which distanced herself from eating with the household staff who was already there. She did this to show that there was a difference between them and her, a professional. Professionals eat by themselves. Professionals eat by themselves. We all know that. Another unique thing she did was that she lived alone. She lived in an apartment in Roxbury, New Jersey, where she spent time relaxing, reading, and attending church with her sister. Because she showed the difference in what she did compared to others, this got Mary an astounding reputation. The family she worked for constantly praised her for her caring bedside manner, patience, but especially her efficiency and skills in the emerging profession. Because of her amazing work, she helped helped raise the standards for all nurses, and this led her to make incredible changes that are still seen to this day. Mary had many goals. She achieved the becoming a nurse one. Now she wanted to change the way families and patients saw Black nurses. This girl wanted to completely obliterate any kind of discrimination in the nursing field. One of the cool perks she received when she got her diploma was it qualified her to join the emerging Nurses Associated alumni, later known as the American Nurses Association. Created in 1896, it was first made to represent registered nurses in the US and was mainly made up of white nurses. Of course, it has evolved over time, but at the time, Mary was one of the very few Black members in the organization's early years, and the organization just wasn't the most welcoming to Black nurses, if you know what I mean. Now, it's not rocket science to understand why Mary wanted to achieve this goal. Being a Black woman in a crazy white-dominated society was hard in and of itself. Massachusetts, however, where she was born, was a different story. It was stupidly hard for a Black nurse with a diploma to find work anywhere. And Mary believed that this wasn't right. She believed everyone should have the opportunity to work and pursue their dreams with no kind of racial discrimination. Because flippin' duh. But like I said, the ANA didn't welcome Black nurses in the early 1900s, so in response, she did it herself. In 1908, along with two other African-American female nurses, Martha Franklin and Ida B. Toms? I think it's Toms. I hope it's Toms. They co-founded the National Association of Colored Graduate Nurses, or NACGN. This association did not care what race you were and focused on supporting and congratulating the accomplishments of all the awesomeness of all the nurses, whether they were registered or not. It is not that hard. That next year, in 1909, the association held its first convention in Boston, and of course, Mary hosted and spoke at it. Interestingly, it was at this convention that Mary, Martha, and Ida first met each other. I just found that adorable. The convention was nothing huge, and the organization struggled with only 26 female nurses at the first convention, but it was something. The organization also gave Mary a lifetime membership and gave her the position of the organization's chaplain. From 1911 to 1912, Mary became the director of the Howard Colored Orphan Asylum. This was a home for freed colored children and the colored elderly. Located in what is now Crown Heights, Brooklyn, New York, it was one of the first orphanages to be led by and made for African Americans. Which is a little bit concerning, I'm just saying. By 1912, the NACGN had 125 members and was continuing to grow. But by 1920, the membership count exploded to 500 nurses, mainly for two reasons. And if you're paying attention to year dates, you know what I'm gonna say here. 1, World War I started, and 2, right after that ended, the 1918 flu pandemic began. So there was a need for a whole lot of nurses. By that time, the American Red Cross allowed the organization to join them, which in turn broke the barrier for female Black nurses to serve in the U.S. Army Nurse Corps, which came in great help when World War II started. Awesome stuff. Finally, in 1951, the organization was voted to dissolve because, and I love this, the American Nurses Association, the organization with the white women that started all this, proposed a merger with them in 1949. Took a while, but at least it happened. Took the long route, but they did it. Yeah. Mary retired from nursing in 1922 after 40 years at the age of 77. But before she did that, being that she was an advocate for women's equality, a huge supporter of the women's suffrage movement, and of course, civil rights, she was alive and well when she saw the 19th Amendment become ratified, making it a constitutional law that women had the right to vote in August of 1920. On August 18th, 1920, at Boston's Ward 13, the same day that Tennessee ratified the 19th Amendment, which made sure the Constitution became a thing, which made sure the amendment became a thing in the Constitution. That's what I meant. At the age of 74, Mary Eliza Mahoney became one of Boston's first women and African-American women to register to vote in the United States. Boom! I just gave you a double firster. And if you think I didn't dig around and indeed find her name on the book of voter register records, you've clearly never seen my videos. And if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of fun things here. I can find a lot of stuff because guess what? I did find her. Boom, there she is. Oh yeah. And her handwriting is freaking adorable. Now, I fully believe Mary would have kept going in her nursing career. I could be wrong. Maybe she did retire because she was burned out. Totally plausible. I get being burned out. Or she could have retired because she wasn't feeling too good. In 1923, Mary was diagnosed with breast cancer. She received treatment for and fought the cancer for the next 3 years at the New England Hospital for Women and Children, the same hospital she worked at, trained at, and became a nurse at. Mary Eliza Mahoney died on January 4th, 1926 of breast cancer at the New England Hospital for Women and Children in Roxbury, Massachusetts at the age of 80. She is buried at Woodlawn Cemetery in Everett, Massachusetts. She never married. Where do I even begin with this woman's legacy? I mean, seriously, where do I begin? When she died, and in recognition of her outstanding work for all nurses of all races, the NACGM established the Mary Mahoney Award in 1936. Luckily, when they merged with the American Nurses Association, they kept the award, and it still continues to be awarded to this day. It is awarded to a person or group that advocates for equal opportunities in nursing in minority communities. Post to editor Jada here. I completely forgot to put this down. There is also the Mary Mahoney Scholarship Award called the Mary Mahoney Professional Nurses. It's been given out for the past 100 years in Detroit, and it's a scholarship that provides students who are studying to be registered nurses and are either in their junior or senior year. There is also the Mary Mahoney Professional Nurses Organization, which was established in 1949. Mary was inducted into the American Nurses Association Hall of Fame in 1973, then in 1993 was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. Her grave became a memorial site in 1973 and was mainly led by Helen S. Miller, a former winner of the Mahoney Award in 1968. In 2021, students and faculty at Simons University and the City of Boston's archives collaborated to make the Mary Eliza Project. The school and archives aim to research and create a database of the more than 50,000 women who first registered to vote in Boston. They are working to transcribe the 160 handwritten volumes of the City of Boston's Registers of Women Voters books. It will all be available to the public and fully searchable and sortable as an Excel spreadsheet. I read that and I was like, I hate spreadsheets. That is awesome. Though Mary opened the door and a half for Black women nurses everywhere, Mary was just an average person and had simple values. But those values were radical for her time. Mind you, with all of her work, it still took to the 1950s and 60s to have the nursing profession racially integrate, but it still took till the 1970s when the National Black Nurses Association was established that Blacks finally started to be welcomed into the professional nursing mainstream. However, again, despite her great work and despite the work of so many Black nurses and doctors, women and men, there is still discrimination and discrepancies in nursing and the medical field as a whole when it comes to African Americans. Some nursing textbooks still have the clearly idiotic notion that African American skin is thicker than white skin. Look it up. It's nope. Nope. And African Americans are still turned away from hospitals, be they recent graduates of nursing or medical school, or is just a patient looking for care. I personally have had weird encounters with white doctors and nurses for just basic medical care. There is still so much to do to make Mary's dream of a completely non-racial discrimination professional nursing and medical field. But her efforts, advocacy, and diploma, mainly her diploma, were the first groundbreaking steps in making her crazy dream a reality. There you go! First herstory of 2025. You're welcome. Now you know who the first African-American female nurse is. Upload schedule. Since my work life outside of YouTube that I have so I can have food, that is going to get crazy busy this year. And since I don't want my quality or research stories to suffer from that, my upload schedule is going to now be every 2 weeks. So I can make sure that I give you guys the stories that I want to give you guys. You know me, I go in deep into these stories, and I want to continue to go in deep into these stories. So I need to give myself grace and push back my upload schedule. Yeah, with that, if you learned something today, and I sure hope you did, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And while you're down there, please leave a friendly comment. I will see you in my next video. But until then, don't be well behaved. You just may make herstory. See you next time, gals and guys.